My name is Cameron Crowe. I'm a contributing editor and interviewer for Rolling Stone magazine, and it's my job to listen to and write about all kinds of music. Over the past few years, one band I've written quite a bit about has been Led Zeppelin. Not just because they're the single most popular band in existence, but because at what they do, they are the masters. Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, John Paul Jones, and John Bonham are a rock and roll institution. Their 7 albums are all platinum, meaning well over 1 million copies have been sold of each one. The group's guitarist and leader, Jimmy Page, once told me that he stopped thinking about Led Zeppelin's amazing popularity long ago. "It's too unbelievable," he said. "I don't even want to know. I'm much better off just playing the music."
Open your arms, open your arms, open your arms. Baby, let my love. It's been a long time, been a long time. Lonely, 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 lonely.
As easy as it might have been to coast on their record success alone, Zeppelin has never turned their backs on performing live, and it's questionable whether their fans would even let them. Because in concert, Led Zeppelin has an indisputable reputation for rock and roll driven to its most exciting peaks. It's no wonder that tickets to their appearances usually disappear months before the show is even announced. The extreme effort that it takes to be one of those lucky few with tickets has been as frustrating to the band as it has been to much of their following. So to satisfy a desire they've held for quite a long time, Led Zeppelin has made a feature film starring themselves. It's called The Song Remains the Same.
I had a dream, oh now, crazy dream, oh, anything I wanted to know, and a place I needed to go. Won't you listen now? Sing along, yeah. You don't know what you're missing now. Any little song that you know, everything that's small has to grow, and it always grows. Foolish, foolish, yeah.
But it's much more than just a film of a concert. The Song Remains the Same is a look at the entire phenomena. The harsh awakening of having to leave home life behind for the road, the backstage dramas, onstage fantasies, the anticlimax of being shoved into a silent limousine just seconds after leaving 20,000 screaming fans. It's a musician's life, and it's been written about in song and in books. But rarely has the complete picture been portrayed so vividly on film. Each of the band members even takes the opportunity to bring their offstage lives to the screen in the form of 4 intimate sequences filmed at their homes around Europe. Never has Led Zeppelin let anyone this close for a glimpse. And The Song Remains the Same is not only a classic Zeppelin concert seen from the second row, but it's a fascinating education too. There's so much more to see, says Jimmy Page, than you might think. And he's right. Led Zeppelin, for all of their basic rock and roll energy, are a quartet of musicians, They grew out of one of rock's most important and formative bands, the Yardbirds. The Yardbirds, at one time or another, had as its members such premier guitarists as Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, and of course Jimmy Page. When the group fell apart in 1968, Page was free to form a band of his own, and everyone was watching. In his pre-Yardbirds days, Page had been the leading session guitarist for most of the bands in England. Mostly uncredited, he was the guitarist on everything from Burt Bacharach singles to Them's Gloria and the Kinks' You Really Got Me. In forming Zeppelin, Page turned first to Robert Plant. Plant was then the lead singer in a raucous group from Birmingham, England, called the Band of Joy. His voice, recalls Page, was too great to be undiscovered. All I had to do from there was find a bassist and a drummer. The drummer came easily enough. Plant suggested John Bonham, the drummer he'd worked with in the Band of Joy. And a classified ad in the British music journal Melody Maker drew the last of the quartet, bassist and keyboard player John Paul Jones. By all accounts, Led Zeppelin's first rehearsal was nothing short of magic. Says Plant, we found out in our first hour and a half of playing together that we had our own identity. Their first album was made in just 3 weeks, and it was an immediate breakthrough hit just as quickly. It was blistering, double-fisted rock and roll, but with a virtuoso's touch. Even gentler, acoustic music had its place in the band's repertoire. Their second album, Led Zeppelin 2, made it official. The band was a certified supergroup, touring the country and astounding audiences with their relentless onstage energy. Their first single, Whole Lotta Love, shot to #1. In The Song Remains the Same, it is their powerhouse encore. I've been a very, very fortunate man, said Page at the time of their next album, Led Zeppelin 3, because it appears that people like to hear the music that I like to play. How much more fortunate can a musician be, Page asked him. I just hope people will grow with us, because we're always changing. And Led Zeppelin were changing. Their music began to show sophisticated influences from folk to Indian to even ragtime. But there was always a powerful bass that the band never strayed from. It would take Led Zeppelin another 2 years to complete their fourth album, but it was a weight that most of their followers forgot when they finally heard the album. In many ways, it was an absolute crystallization of everything they had been attempting on record. There was first-rate rock in the grand Zeppelin tradition, but there was also a timeless piece that will probably remain Led Zeppelin's staple for many, many years to come. The song, Stairway to Heaven.
There's a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold, and she's buying a stairway to heaven. And when she gets there, she knows if the stars are all closed, with a word she can get what she came for.
There have been 3 more Zeppelin albums since then: Houses of the Holy, Physical Graffiti, and Presence. All of them accomplished and hugely popular works. Page, who writes the music, has fond recollections of all of them, but understandably he still reserves his warmest memories for Stairway to Heaven. It was a milestone, he said on tour last year. Every musician wants to do something of lasting quality, something that'll hold up for a long time. Peter Townsend and The Who probably feel they got it with Tommy. We reached it with Stairway. And whether Zeppelin will be able to do it again remains to be seen. The band does feel confident.
And I think you can see that.
The film's performance of Stairway to Heaven may well be the most moving moment of The Song Remains the Same, but just as riveting is a lengthy, ethereal version of Page's epic guitar piece, Dazed and Confused. Watching the film brings several things to mind. Not only has Zeppelin succeeded in bringing their music to cinematic life, but they've also managed another milestone in a career full of peaks. The Song Remains the Same is worth anybody's time. It's the world's biggest and probably best rock and roll band, on stage and far beyond. Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, John Paul Jones, and John Bonham can rest assured. They've done it again with their first film. This is Cameron Crowe, and I guess what I've been trying to say is, I like Led Zeppelin.